What's the deal, my people? Thank you for joining me on my channel, Panama'S OG Truth. You could be anywhere in the world, but you're here with me right now. And before I drop this motherfucking heat, please, if you have anybody in the room, children, little kids, people that have a sensitive stomach, people that don't want to hear what I'm about to break down, because believe me when I tell you, I'm bringing it raw and uncut, Panama'S OG Truth. Welcome to my Prison Chronicles. Today, we're going to be going to the Teal Roach Unit, all right? Childress, Texas. I've covered the Teal Roach Unit in one of my other chronicles. And like I said, man, this shit right here, man, it gets wicked, it gets wild, raw, and uncut. So, this is in the late 90s. I want to say around 98. I had just left Beat 01. They shot me back to the county on bench warrant. And on my way back to the prison system, they reclassified me to the Teal Roach Unit, Childress, Texas. And like I've told y'all in my other videos, Childress, Texas is a little town in the straight, like I said, Tornado Alley. That's the best thing that I could describe. It's the top part of the Texas state. Nothing but country out there, nothing but desert, that red sand, okay? And like I tell y'all before and I tell y'all again, a lot of Texas, rural Texas, is used for penitentiary, prison, okay? It's a big money industry, it's a form of white slavery. So this takes place on the Teal Roach Unit, or as they call it, the Rock and Roach Unit, all right? And this is one of these units that it's not real big. I believe probably 1,500, no more than 1,800 inmates, okay? So it's relatively a small prison compared to, let's say, a Beat 01 that holds over 3,000 men. It's a small prison, okay? But wherever you have a bunch of men that are doing time, wherever you have a bunch of men with aggravated time, anything could happen at any given notice. So this what brings me to this one right here. Like I said, the Teal Roach Unit, the Rock and Roach. I remember probably I've been there about 2 weeks, okay? And they had gave me a job in the kitchen, the chow hall, as we call it, all right? And when I got there, there was already a lot of tension. And when I'm talking about tension, I'm talking about tension between the Woods, the white boys, and the Crips, all right? So this is basically between black and white, okay? And in prison, everything is all about race. Race and gangs. It goes hand in hand, all right? So you have the wood pile. The wood pile are the white boys that stand up for themselves, okay? The ones that are fighting. The ones that you're not gonna punk. The ones that are gonna bust heads, stab, whatever they gotta do, okay? And a lot of people feel like, well, white boys are the minorities in prison. And that's true to an extent, okay? So you have a lot of them that they're not gonna fight. They're not gonna bust a grape, all right? And those are the ones that get ran over. Those are the ones that get extorted, all right? And the Crips, and when I say the Crips, you have multiple different sets. You have a Five Dudes Hoover Crips, you have a Fortray Gangster Crips, and so on and so on and so on. And my cellmate, he was a Fortray Gangster Crip from Fort Worth, okay? They call him Little Ag. And I never forget, he comes in one day, he tells me, hey man, it's going down. It's going down today. And I'm like, well, what the fuck you talking about it's going down? And he starts telling me that the Woods, they've been trying to like stand up and say, well, you know what? You know, we tired of your people. And when I say your people, he's talking about the Crips making our people ride. And the terminology ride in prison means extorting them. Okay? And let me back up a little bit. I'm explaining to you guys. When you hit the Roach Unit, okay, you come in through a side gate, and then they have like what they call the line building. The line building is where the administration has like a little desk where you go in there. They have the captain's office. They have where they do the count time. It's like a little setup center for them. And right next to that line building, they have a cage, or as you could put it, as a bullpen. So when you come in through in the chain, they sit you down inside this cage where some benches at, and you wait for your property to get processed, and they tell you what wing, what cell block you're going to. So when the chain will pull up, the new inmates, the new arrivals will pull up, they will sit them down inside this cage behind this fence. So everybody that's walking through the prison, going to child, going to rec, whatever, they're able to see every new face that's arriving at the unit, okay? And what they would do, and when I'm talking about they, I'm talking about anybody and everybody that was involved with the extortion game, okay? They would walk by there and they would be looking and they would be sizing everybody up. So pretty much whenever these new inmates, these new arrivals would hit the cell block, people already had an idea. Okay, this one right here, he looks kind of weak. Okay, this one right here, he look like he might have money. This one right here, he look like he ain't gonna bust a grape. In other words, he ain't gonna fight. And the same back then was, are you gonna fight, fuck, or bust a 60? In other words, are you gonna stand on your own and fight like a man, win, lose, or draw? Or are you gonna get, are you gonna give up some ass? Are you gonna suck some dick? Or are you gonna bust a 60? Meaning that when you go to commissary, when you go to store, we're gonna write you a $60 list. Back then, it was a $60 limit. It went up to 75 later on. But back then, when I hit the system, it was a 60. In other words, we're gonna write you a commissary list and you're gonna pay for protection. And if you don't pay for protection, you already know what's gonna happen. And that was the same back then. So you had these dudes, and when I say these dudes, I mean these predators, all right? They would walk in front of the line building and basically post up and look to see if they could find any weakness in any of the new arrivals. And if they would pick up on somebody, not making eye contact, in other words, they would stare, down, they didn't want to look at nobody. If they would pick up any type of fear, they would be like, oh yeah, as soon as this motherfucker hit the cell block, I'm on his ass. So when these white boys, these youngsters, and when I say youngsters, I'm talking about 19, 20-year-old kids will hit the cell block, they already had their eye on them. And you have some gorillas. And when I say gorillas, I'm talking about they're forcing motherfuckers to either pay, like I said, bust a 60, in other words, commissary, or they're getting fucked. That's just the way penitentiary rules are. That's the way it went down back then. And it's something that's unfortunate, it's sad, but that's part of prison life. And it wouldn't be no different on the Teal Roach unit, the Rock and Roach. So you had a group of Crips, like I said, different Crips, they were out there literally, extorting. When I say extorting, they were extorting the weak, all right? And the majority of the people they were extorting, they were young white boys. I mean, like I said, this is part of prison life. And the Woods, they were basically like, you know what, man, we got to stop this shit. We're tired of our people getting extorted. And the Crips in return would be like, man, you can't tell us who the fuck we're going to check, who the fuck we're going to make pay protection. You know what I mean? You ain't gonna tell us how to do our thing. If we see weakness, we're gonna move in and we're gonna break them. And they're gonna be paying for protection. If not, they're gonna be getting digged down. Whatever is the case, like I said, it's the guerrilla strong arm way of extortion in prison. All right? And you have a lot of people, white, black, and Hispanic, this is how they get down. But this happened to be, like I said, the Crips were doing it to a full extent. Nobody was gonna tell them how to do it. That's just the way it goes. So when you have these Woods, the one that were calling shots for the Woods, trying to tell them, hey, you got to raise up off our people. We don't appreciate you doing our people like that. The Crips were like, man, fuck y'all, man. Y'all can't tell us what to do. If the motherfucker's weak, shit, we finna handle that. So basically the Woods, their pride was hurt. They couldn't accept the fact that these Crip niggas were making these white boys ride. And you will see, when they will go to the chow hall, you will see, one black dude, and you will see about 4 or 5 white boys walking behind him. Those were his kids. They were paying for protection in one way or the other. You feel what I'm saying? And, you see me laughing right now, but this shit is not funny, man. This shit is something, like I said, that happens in prison every day. So what I'm doing, I'm giving you a glimpse into prison life. If you're the type of person that you don't have no fight in your heart, you ain't gonna bust a grape. In other words, you ain't no killer if you don't have a gun in your hand. I'm talking to you, all right? Like I said, prison is a rough and tumble environment. Only the strong survive. And this wouldn't be no different. And the Woods, like I said, all of them are not, straight up hoes. A lot of them, they're gonna fight. That's why they have the terminology Woods. Only the Woods are considered the ones that are gonna fight. If you're not a Wood, it's a reason why you're not a Wood. That means you don't have no respect. That means you're a hoe. Okay? Like I said, you got a lot of Woods that are gonna stand up for themselves. So you can't categorize every white person, every white man in prison as a hoe. In other words, scary, he's not gonna fight. All right? Then you have your families, your Aryan Circle, AC, your AB, Aryan Brother, Hood of Texas. you have different, like I said, white supremacist criminal organizations in prison. The Woods are the ones that are not part of a family, but they have heart. They're gonna fight for this shit. You're not gonna run over them. Win, lose, or draw, they're gonna fight. And this is the case of what I'm talking about. So this has been going on already for a while, and the tension was thick. Like I said, I've been in the prison system already about 3.5, almost 4 years when this shit kicks off. And my cellmate, like I said, he was a full trade gangster Crip from Fort Worth, and he basically was like, man, you know, it's going down. You know what I mean? These Woods, they're trying to tell us what we ain't gonna do. So they called chow hall. Everybody go to chow, and I lived in the JKL building. That was medium custody. And if anybody knows about the road unit, JKL, the medium custody, that's why your fuck ups are at. All right, gang infested. Like I said, people that are doing their time the way they want to do it. Simple as that. And when JKL was called to go to chow, literally, when I say literally, you had your Woods, then you had all your Crips. And as soon as they ran up in that chow hall, you could feel the tension. Like it was real quiet. Normally the chow hall is loud, everybody's talking, everybody's laughing, fucking around, joking around. But this day it was quiet. You could hear a fucking pin drop. Right? You could cut the fucking intensity. You could cut the animosity with a knife. That's how bad it was. Okay? And me working in the kitchen at the time, I'm behind the serving line. I'm one of the dudes that I'm serving everybody that goes by. Okay? So I'm watching this. You got two doors. You got one on the north side, one on the south side. All right? Like I said, the JKL, they're coming on one side, and that's it. So everybody that's coming in through the chow hall, they're merging into the chow hall at one time. You got one line on this side, one line on the other side. And you can see, you had all the Woods on one side, you had all the Crips on one side. Next thing you know, the shit kicks off. Crip comes up to a white boy with a pitcher and busts him upside the head. Boom, that shit kicks off, man. And when I tell you that the Woods try to fight back, they did, but they were easily outnumbered. It was probably 5 Crips to 1 Wood, 1 Peckerwood. And when I tell you that, like I said, the Woods, they try to hold their own. They're gonna fight. But at the end of the day, when you're fighting, numerous people at the same time, and they have the numbers, there's only so much you're gonna be able to get away with. And this wouldn't be no different. When I tell you that the Crips literally had a field day in that chow hall that day, they picked up a Wood, a white boy, they picked his ass up, and they body slammed him on a metal bar in the middle of the chow hall. Like literally, when they body slammed him, you could literally see this person on the floor like having convulsions from the impact of when he hit his spinal cord on that metal bar. I mean, like literally, man, they fucked this dude up. I remember it was a big ass white boy. He picked up a broomstick and he was swinging that motherfucker like a baseball bat. Like I said, fighting for his life. And when it was all said and done, this shit probably went down for about 10 minutes. Until the COs ran up in there. The doors at the chow hall, they locked them. And those doors, they had a hole about this big where they could stick the pepper spray gun. And it's like it has like a barrel where they put these pepper spray slugs and they shoot that shit. Blook, blook, blook. And they're shooting pepper spray constantly. I'm talking about, they shot probably about 20 canisters of pepper spray in there. So the whole chow hall, smoked out, pepper spray, motherfuckers coughing, and you got the Crips in the Woods fighting it out. Chaos, you know what I mean? We behind the line, we're trying to see what the fuck is going on, we're trying to cover our noses, our face. Like I said, that pepper spray ain't no joke. You ever been sprayed with that shit, you know what I'm talking about. But that shit was crazy, man, because like I said, I only been there about 2 weeks. And me coming from Beto, you hear the stories about Beto, and then you hit a smaller prison, you don't think it's gonna go down like that. But no different. Like I said, wherever you have motherfuckers doing time, you're gonna have people that have pride. In other words, they gotta stand up on their own. And that was the case with these Peckerwoods, the Wood Pop. They stood their own. And like I said, I've met some stiff-ass white boys. You know what I mean? I've met some stiff-ass white boys that were Peckerwoods. I met some stiff-ass white boys that were AB, AC, White Knights, whatever. These are all prison gangs that operate within the prison system. Okay, and like I said, man, the Crips, they ended up getting the best of them. Like I said, they were outnumbered. And when I tell you that the Crips had some rowdy ass niggas down with them, they did. They did their thing. Like I said, my cellmate, he was one of them. Like I said, little ag, man, you know, motherfucker cold with his hands. So this was a little war inside the child hall. And I'll never forget, man, by the time they opened them doors, they made everybody get on the ground. And all you saw was busted heads, motherfuckers bleeding, tight whites with blood all over it. That shit was crazy as fuck. But that was my how can I say, my introduction to the Teal roach unit. And I would end up probably doing about 5 years on a roach unit before I ended up getting shipped to another prison. And that was probably one of the most severe riots that I saw those 5 years that I was at the roach unit. And I'll never forget that. And it's basically a war zone when you go to a prison. Okay, any second anything could happen, and next you know it kicks off. And when you have people talking about this, and you can feel it in the air, it's just a matter of time it kicks off. And this wouldn't be no difference. It had been already brewing, already had been simmering to the top, and that day it happened to explode. And when it exploded, it was chaos. Like I said, the Peckerwoods, they held their own. They were outnumbered though, so they ended up catching the losing end. But we went on lockdown. We stayed on lockdown for about 3 months, and I never forget that they had their little old talks, their little old meetings, and they came to an agreement of how this shit was gonna go. And I'm not gonna get into that because all I wanted to do is point out, like I said, this little riot that happened on the child hall in the roach unit. And if you were there in the late 90s, you already know what I'm talking about, okay? And I'm just saying what I'm saying because I want my people to understand one thing. When you go to prison and you're in this type of situation and you fall under a category, a race, and you represent a gang, a prison gang, a street gang or whatever, you have to get down, especially when something like this kick off. You can't say, well, I'm an innocent bystander, I'm not a Crip, or if you're a white boy, I'm not a Wood, it don't pertain to me. If you in that area when that shit kicks off, you might as well get down. Because it's just a matter of time somebody takes it to your ass and you got to defend yourself. It's just a matter of time that when the COs come in there and they start blasting that pepper spray, you're going to get pepper spray too. Ain't nobody going to say, oh, well, he ain't had nothing to do with it, don't pepper spray him. Nah, you in that same area, you going to catch the heat too. Either way it go. Like I said, you're in a controlled environment, there's not much you can do. You can't exit the premises, the doors are locked. It's a riot going off in there. They're going to lock every fucking door to that child hall and shoot pepper spray until they're tired of shooting that pepper spray. And this is exactly what happened. So if you're not interested in being in them type of situations, which I don't think the normal person would like to be in that situation, stay your ass out the penitentiary. These are the things that happen day in, day out. And I'm here to tell y'all, this is a cautionary tale. If you don't want to be around this shit, if you're not cut out for this, do what you got to do. Okay? I'm not here to brag about nothing. I'm just here to tell y'all my experience, what I saw, what I've been through the 12 years that I was incarcerated. Join me in my next one. Like I said, man, I had plenty of memories, good and bad, while I was incarcerated. And what I'm attempting to do is just enlighten my youth and tell y'all how this shit goes in the prison system. And everywhere you go, state to state, this is the way it goes. You got some hardcore prisons, and then you got some prisons that are more laid back. It all depends where you land. So it is what it is. Learning experience, hell yeah. I learned a lot. Did I see a lot of things that I didn't want to see? Hell yeah. At the end of the day, I feel this made me a better man. And like I said, I'm here to enlighten my youth. Okay? Ain't no guns in prison. I've said it before and I say it again. The real game banging starts in there. What you could do out here in the streets, you could dodge a motherfucker, you could go somewhere else. In prison, you can't. You got to run into that person eventually again. All right? It is what it is. I appreciate y'all joining me in my channel. I appreciate y'all giving me this platform. I'll be bringing y'all plenty more. Like I said, I have a lot of live stories in the vault. All right? Much love. God bless. I appreciate y'all. Panama'S OG Truth.